Welcome, everybody. My name is Joanne Shear Parkin, registered dietitian, nutritionist, and today I'm going to be talking to you about weight loss supplements. Are they safe and do they work? Some weight loss supplements contain stimulants that can increase blood pressure, heart rate, and can cause insomnia. Some supplement companies make really exaggerated claims without any evidence that they really work and that the amount of weight loss is actually correct and accurate. Just think about if you could only just take a pill and then that would melt away, but that's not really how it works, right? We all know that. But about 5 years ago, I started recommending a supplement from LifeVantage. Fat burn is safe and the research is quite intriguing. It shows that it does provide some definite benefits. So exactly how does fat burn work? Well, one thing I really love about LifeVantage is that LifeVantage has some really great science backing all of their products, and they also have some really great science on fat burn. Now, I've been with LifeVantage now for about 12 years, and I can tell you that this is one of the reasons why I am a big proponent of many of their products, because of the scientific validation. So I think tonight what we'll do is just get right into it, and I just like to show you some of the research and some of the science. And so I'm going to need to share my screen real quick and get to my little PowerPoint that I have ready for you. So just hang in there. So here we go. The slideshow, right? So let's go to this next slide. And the fat burn from LifeVantage, the key ingredient in fat burn is sinotrol. Now, this was an ingredient that was developed by two biotech companies in France. And what I'm going to show you is the human clinical studies that show that it preserves muscle mass while burning stubborn belly fat and completely safe to take in the long term. So let's dive in a little more deeply here. So what exactly is in fat burn? As you can see on the screen, first two ingredients there are B3 and B6. About 50 to 60% of the RDA. And then there's a proprietary blend, 1,250 milligrams. And the key ingredient there that you see is Sinotrol X Pure. It is a blend of 3 citrus extracts, grapefruit, sweet orange, blood orange, and a little bit of guarana seed in there to kind of boost the effectiveness of those. And then a green coffee bean extract. Now, coffee bean extracts have been around for many years. Coffee bean extracts are high in chlorogenic acids, and those chlorogenic acids help to release the fatty acids from your fat cells so they can get burned for energy. So I'm going to be talking about 3 key subjects on sinotrol, this is studies rather. This first study was a pilot study on 20 subjects back in 2008. And in this study, what the findings were that those subjects on the sinotrol group, which you can see over here, it's these black bars, that was the sinotrol group and the reduction in percent of body fat after 12 weeks. So if you look here at the black bars, you can see where they started, which was about 32%, right? And it looks like they dropped down to maybe about 26, maybe 27%, right? So that was a reduction in percent of body fat. Then in 2013, a double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial for 12 weeks, this was published with 97 healthy overweight men and women. They were randomized either to the sinotrol group twice a day, right, 900 milligrams of sinotrol, or to a placebo group. Now, their diet was pretty liberal, and men consumed 2,200 to 2,500 calories, women 1,800 to 2,000, and actually very minimal exercise in both of the groups, only about 30 minutes a week. So these are the key findings from that study. So you look at what are the findings in the sinotrol group versus the placebo group. You'll see that there was an abdominal fat reduction 2.5 times greater in the sinotrol group, waist size reduction 2.6 times greater, and there was this fat burning effect of 9.6 times greater. And this means that there was this release of free fatty acids that they measured. And back to the waist size reduction, that was about equivalent to about 2 inches that was lost around the waist over 12 weeks in the sinotrol group versus the placebo group. So what was the next study? Well, let's look at the summary of these studies first. Sinotrol works at the cellular level. Sinotrol signals fat cells to release the fatty acids to be burned as energy. So that's really how they concluded in this research study is how the sinotrol works. Now, is it safe? So that was the next step of the study, was that they evaluated the safety of sinotrol. And if you read at the bottom, the researchers concluded that the consumption of sinotrol not only produces beneficial changes in body fat composition, but it also improves inflammatory, glycemic, and oxidative stress status in overweight, healthy individuals. And they also found that there were no adverse side effects, either cardiovascular, heart, blood pressure, kidneys. So no adverse effects on any of the body organs or any of those biometrical outcomes. But I want to really just point to one thing in this study that I think was an interesting finding. And let's look at the sinotrol group here. Look down here. See the C-reactive protein here? You'll see that the sinotrol group reduced that by about 23%, whereas there was an increase of 61% in the placebo group. And why is that a significant finding? Well, C-reactive protein is a marker of inflammation. Now, this really makes sense when you think about it, because the fat that was lost was mainly around the middle. This is what I call the toxic belly fat. This visceral fat in and above your waist, around your organs, that body fat releases inflammatory compounds, which of course then, increases inflammation throughout your body, right? So if you're losing the fat there, it really does make sense that you are going to be able to reduce some of those inflammatory compounds as well, right? So this last study that I want to review here quickly is the latest clinical study on sinotrol. And this one was published in 2021. This was a little longer study. This one was 16 weeks, and it was a placebo-controlled study, right? And it showed the following results in subjects that followed a healthy diet, but again, not much as far as exercise habits, right? They found that the sinotrol group increased the resting calorie expenditure by 181 calories per day. Now that's pretty significant because your resting calorie expenditure, the calories you burn at rest, that's the calories needed to run your heart and all of your body organs and fuel your brain, accounts for 60 to 70% of your total daily calorie expenditure, right? And so that was why this was so significant, because it was your resting calorie expenditure, right? Just sitting around, right? Burning 181 calories more per day. And like with the other studies as well, they found a reduction in total fat by 5.2%, or about 4 pounds of fat lost. And it was mainly lost around the truncal area. See, 65% of it was right around the belly, the toxic belly fat, right? And then there was another significant finding, which was an increased ratio of beige fat, a more energy dense and more efficient form of good fat. Now, when you're born with lots of brown fat, which is really energy dense, burns a lot of calories, but as you get older, you get more white fat, which is not very calorie efficient. So it's really interesting that there's this new kind of fat that I think is fairly recently they've identified, the beige fat, and which was the finding in the study was that it increased your beige fat, and that was one of the reasons why they were able to burn more calories. And what was also interesting was even after they continued the sinotrol, and there was still more weight loss, about 2 pounds after 4 weeks, because I think that's one of the questions you're probably going to ask, right? All right, so did people maintain their weight? If they lost the fat, they lost the belly fat, were they able to maintain that weight? Well, we only know, and this looks like they only followed them for another 4 weeks, but that's kind of significant too, because I know that so many times when people are taking some of the weight loss supplements, is that the minute they stop taking them, they start gaining the weight back. So I just really like to summarize this research, because I kind of breezed through this pretty quickly. So let's just summarize the research on the key ingredient in fat burn, which is sinotrol. And again, this is a patented ingredient from 3 citrus extracts. And of course, we want to point out that it's really very safe, really without any negative side effects. In fact, we found out that the side effects are actually really positive, right? So there's a good thing. You're taking sinotrol or fat burn with sinotrol to, lose the weight, but in the process, of course, you're going to improve many biochemical parameters as well, the biochemical parameters of good health. So let's look at and summarize those research findings again, right? Sinotrol versus placebo found that when the sinotrol groups, they had a reduction of body fat percent. They had a reduction of waist circumference and the toxic belly fat. The sinotrol groups and subjects had increased resting energy expenditure of about 181 calories, loss of body fat of about 5.2% or 4 pounds, increased ratio of that more energy efficient beige fat, and some continued weight loss for up to 4 weeks after the product was stopped. So with that, I am going to end the show and end the slide and stop my share and talk a little bit more about how and what situations that you might want to add the fat burn to your diet and exercise routine. One situation that I think you should consider is during the holidays, right? Because we know from the research that most people and the average American actually will gain about 1 to 2 pounds during the holidays, right? And we all have really great intentions of losing it and hopping on the treadmill come January 1st, we're going to make those New Year's resolutions and we're going to lose those extra pounds. But the research shows that's not really what happens in the real world, right? We have good intentions. But so when you think about that, if you gain a couple extra pounds over the holidays in 10 years, what's that? 20 pounds. Wow, it really can add up, right? So this is a time when I think the fat burn could help you with kind of trying to keep that fat at bay, right? Try to help you with that weight maintenance and supporting your nutrition plan or fitness or whatever over the holidays. And then another great time when I think that this would be a great time to have the fat burn would be when you're starting a nutrition or fitness program. And, what's really, and of course, think about how much more effective it's going to be if you do that than just taking the sinotrol alone. This is really going to, improve your outcomes and benefits, right? Can you see that? I see a big value in that because if you can start building more lean body mass and losing less fat, because that's going to help rev up your metabolism. It's going to be better for you in the long term with weight maintenance as well. Of course, the fat burn, honestly, it's safe. You can actually take it really indefinitely. And there's absolutely zero downside. In fact, as I showed you, there are other positive health benefits as well. So I hope that really was helpful in helping me to review this supplement, Fat Burn from LifeVantage. And I really hope that you'll get back to the person who invited you to watch this video. And please get your questions answered. Find out from them, you want to place an order, whether this is something you'd like to add to your daily nutrition and fitness program, then I hope you will do that, okay? So with that, I'm going to sign off and I want to thank you for joining. God bless. Bye-bye.